Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is Startup Grind Detroit, and we're so honored today to have Regina Campbell with us, Regina Ann Campbell with us, to discuss, her journey as an entrepreneur and her journey as someone who's been supporting entrepreneurs for a long time. If you're not familiar with Startup Grind Detroit, I encourage you to visit us at startupgrinddetroit.com, or just Startup Grind and then search for Detroit. You will find us. We're just one of the chapters that's out there. Startup Grind, if you're not familiar with them, it's one of the largest entrepreneurship organizations globally, where each chapter hosts usually a discussion around the startup grind of an entrepreneur starting a business or growing a business. And we in Detroit have chosen to take a different route, making sure that we're blending it between tech and non-tech, or place-based entrepreneurship and tech entrepreneurship, to make sure that we're trying to be more inclusive with the communities that we serve here. I'm Faris Alami, I'm the host, and I'm really honored to be here with you. I'm the founder of a company called International Strategic Management. We do entrepreneurship and small business development, mainly in underserved, underrepresented communities, immigrant communities in the US and in about 100 other countries globally. So welcome, and thanks for being here. Regina, how are you?
I'm great. Good morning. Good morning. So happy to be with y'all today.
And I'm sorry about the links. I know that we have not done a good job integration between Zoom and Startup Grind. So sorry about that. And I'm glad that you're here.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. I'm familiar with Startup Grind, not only with, I was so excited that your company is leading affairs, and then also Memphis has a Startup Grind, and Lakeisha does it that way. And so it's such a great information for a variety of entrepreneurs out here in our country and in the world. So thank you so much for having me in December.
Of course. I thought it's a better way to celebrate is have Regina come, and we'll end the year with a great celebration of entrepreneurship journeys. So maybe you could tell people, first of all, for those who don't know who Regina Ann Campbell is and what you do, would you mind sharing with the world who are you and what you do?
Certainly, I'd love to share. So I'll talk about my professional hat first. I'm the CEO and president of Build Institute. We are an idea incubator that's been around since 2012, helping entrepreneurs launch their ideas into the marketplace. And those are the community-based businesses, place-based businesses that Faris talked about earlier: retail, wholesale, small-scale manufacturers, food folks. We help them with entrepreneurial education that's based on national standards. We also have access to KIVA. And one quick thing is that we were the first place that KIVA launched in the United States. And we're proud about that. We also have other capital grant and loan programs that'll be launched in the new year. So we're very excited about that. And finally, all entrepreneurs, they need subject matter experts. So we have entrepreneurs in residence to support them in real time as well. So there's that. And then I also wear the hat, which is a mother of two young men, I like to say, a college student first year and a freshman in high school. And I also wear the hat as a wife. 20 years will be next year. And so I stay very busy, native Detroiter, love economic development. Most vivid memory from the time I was 16, I said, I want to help Detroit revitalize. I love commercial corridors, shopping, and supporting entrepreneurs. And so I've been an economic developer for some time, and that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, thank you so much, Regina. No, this is very helpful, and I maybe at one point, if we have time, I'd love to hear about your journey coming back to Detroit and then leaving and then coming back again. It seemed like that could be interesting for people to also hear about the choices that you make as an entrepreneur. I'm going to call it mindset, to move around and navigate the systems to support and do the work that you love doing. So let's talk about Build. I mean, Build has been around for a while, and you've been doing all kinds of interesting work in the city. I'd love to hear about, maybe one of the questions I had right away is, we always hear entrepreneurs' wants or needs, and they usually are good at articulating it. But having been lucky to support entrepreneurs for years and having been one, I always tell people there are things that I think I need, and there are things that I don't think I need that I probably should be doing before I get to what I need. So I would love to hear your thoughts on what you're hearing entrepreneurs saying that they want or need versus the reality of what you see the need in the community.
So So what we hear first and often is they say they need capital and access to capital. And though that part is very true to some degree when they're getting to the point where they've gotten their entrepreneur education, they've gotten customers, and the only barrier is capital. But first, oftentimes it's really entrepreneurs needing to understand their customer, in particular now because of COVID, because consumer behavior has changed. And so that's requiring, particularly the businesses that we serve who are community based, to take a step back into the business and reevaluate ways that they can not only do product distribution, because people aren't necessarily always coming in now, but also to evaluate how to retain or re-engage their existing customers, but new customers as well, because COVID has happened. And so that's what we're seeing now, that people are looking into, like, how do they either do e-commerce or re-engage customers when they have a brick and mortar. So that's one priority that people need to really think about, and what we're hearing out here and helping people with as well. When we talk about the access to capital piece, for those when they've gone through, again, they've got a solid business plan, a viable idea, and capital is the only thing there. We've worked on where we could actually have some grants that will be available in the new year for businesses, as well as some low interest loans that will be available for businesses and what I call early stage. We know that on the tech and non-growth, there are early stage capital available, but there has been very lean, either low interest or grants available for what we call early stage community-based businesses, folks who are, non-tech, not high growth, community-based, what I call essential businesses who are in proof of concept and justify stage. They can't go to a bank yet, and some of them cannot go to a CDFI. So again, the capital piece, the consumer behavior is something that we're hearing a lot about. But I want to talk a little bit about how I encourage entrepreneurs to do their part first. If someone was to talk to us at Build and they have an idea or they're early stage, there's so many ways that people can start doing their homework right now. One, we have the internet, access to the internet. So they can go online. There's a tool called Canvanizer that I really like, because there's that one page sort of business model canvas that we all need to think about every element of our business. So I've utilized that and leveraged that on the front end to make sure that I'm really thinking through every part of the business, from the consumer to the distribution channels and the revenue. So I highly encourage people who want to go into business, you've got to do some initial work first. There's one thing to, look for certain grants to maybe get started, but at the end of the day, a business is about sales. It's about customers, and you have to put some skin in the game. And sometimes that means upfront, taking the time to do your research and definitely talking to customers, intended customers. What does that look like, the customer discovery process? So people can start with that. That's like no cost. And then when you begin to say, hey, particularly in the Detroit market, when you're ready to start a business, come and see us at Build, and we're happy to walk you through that next stage.
I love that. So, I like that you took us back to the initial start of what an entrepreneur could do or should do. And I like the fact that you're saying there are things you can do for free. The customer discovery is something that it's, as we all know, the best funding that any one of us could get to start a business. And I know that most people, when I ask that question, I've done this kind of workshop on, how to ask for funding in hundreds of spots around the world. I always hear, everything else except for the one answer I'm looking for, which is the best funding that comes to you is from your customers. Because the customers, when they give you money, guess what they want in return? They want product, they want service, they want you to do it again. Where everybody else, if they give you money, guess what they want back? They want their money and a little bit more.
I love that, Faris. I'll have to take that as a nugget and share that with entrepreneurs too. The best kind of funding they can get is from their customers, because guess what? They want products, and that brings money that will, continue to be in the business. I love that. That. That's great framing.
So of course, that's why we're here, right? We're having a discussion. And by the way, anyone else welcome to ask questions as well. Just unmute and just speak, or you could put in the chat. So with that being said, I love the fact that you're having partnership with KIVA. I have a lot of respect for KIVA and what they've done globally. And I love the fact that they came to the US and done some really interesting work in the US in the microfinance space, especially for people who, to your point, can't get CDFIs or no one would recognize them to give them money. So that's really powerful because that could change many people's lives. And the funding, when we talk about it, for me is interesting because, you know, people say, well, customers won't pay for products that they don't see or have. And I challenge that because, you know, you could get a prepayment, you could get a down payment, you could get some commitment, and you can get a letter of commitment. You can do all kinds of things just to get things started. So thank you so much, Regina, for sharing that. Go out there and talk to customers. That's the first step that you want to do if you're exploring on how to start a business. Now, I'm curious from your perspective, what has, you know, what have you seen a shift in, or what has COVID done to some of the retailers or some of the stores or some of the services in the neighborhood communities? Because most of your work in neighborhoods. So I'm assuming that you are seeing some shift or changes in the work and the entrepreneurs themselves. I'm not sure. I'd love to hear just your thoughts on it.
Well, for a number of the businesses that sold retail products in stores, some businesses closed. Some businesses have been able to continue to sell if they've had e-commerce platforms. And other businesses have been able to adapt and grow in real significant ways. And I'll mention, for example, Jennifer Crawford, All Things Marketplace. She has actually been able to add to her business where she does shipping and fulfillment for small businesses that we serve who sell products. And so not only are they able to sell their product right now, she's incubating in our build space, and she's going to be moving out into a larger space for her shipping and fulfillment. She's able to sell their products in the marketplaces that she has, as well as do shipping and fulfillment and delivery to customers, whether you know, in Detroit, or she'll do shipping out state. So we're finding that they're struggling with being able to get their product to customers, but there are solutions out there. We're also finding that because many of them who were in brick and mortar didn't have an e-commerce platform, so weren't able to continue sales with customers and engagements. But one way Build is fortunate to be able to help support in that with the digital inclusion is the GoDaddy project, which we are extremely excited about. That will be where in Detroit, 150 entrepreneurs will get a website along with the education. And so we have where people can sign up for the cohorts. If they just go to buildinstitute.org and sign up, there's a real short registration application. We'll have some cohorts that will start January through to fourth quarter. So that's what we found. Again, not having a website or an active website has impacted them to be able to produce sales, quite frankly. And, you know, that has caused some businesses to close, some businesses to pause, because none of us were prepared for COVID. And so that's presented some challenges, I think, to every single business. And even for me, you know, I have a real estate development company. It's actually in Memphis, one that I started there. And naturally, with construction and cost of fees going up, that's impacted, COVID has impacted everybody. And so it's about being strategic and understanding the resources that are out here for you. Again, if you got small retail products, a local maker, Jennifer Crawford, who operates out of the Build Institute, can help ship those items for you.
Love that. That's a real life example of what entrepreneurs do, right? They just got to pivot and keep going. And, you know, those who are, you know, still waiting for, you know, I always people, if you're still waiting for things to go back to normal, welcome. This is the new normal. So if you haven't figured this out yet, I encourage you to figure it out. I mean, that's maybe not what the entrepreneurs like to hear, but it's reality. Unfortunately, if you're still waiting for people to show up to your store, it's just not going to happen. You will get some. It's just the old way of whatever was done is just not going to be the same anymore. And I'm in my office today in the building. We have 3-story office building here, and I think I'm the only one. Maybe my partner buddy here, the owner of the building, is here too. But you know, there are 2 or 5 of us, maybe 6 of us in the whole building, and it's like, you know, almost 100,000 square feet building. Getting people to come back to the office is going to be, you know, really hard.
Yes.
Getting customers to show up to restaurants really hard. Now, in the same time, there are lots of new opportunities because if they're not taking advantage of the curbside pickup, and I've seen some really
Mhm.
interesting entrepreneurs do a whole new thing with startup, the whole curbside pickup, whether it's food or grocery or clothing, all kinds of stuff. It could be a whole new world. And having someone like you mentioned in your institute right there to be able to ship is very powerful. So we're making it convenient not only for the entrepreneur, but also for the customer to say, I'll just ship you the stuff. Thanks, Regina, for sharing that with the shipping at your site for businesses. That's real service for entrepreneurs that could really benefit from it. One of my other questions is as you spoke about the places that might have closed, it seemed it could be an opportunity to yet start another business, or for another entrepreneur to take on that building or reuse it or redo something else with it. Have you seen any innovative yet approaches to some of these existing buildings or businesses that you feel like, wow, there's maybe a trend towards this, or it seems like there might be an opportunity to do something different with the space?
Well, I will say that I think that there's opportunities to build on what was, the Motor City Match piece, right? So we know that that was an opportunity to help existing business owners, renovate their properties while also helping match entrepreneurs to individual properties. The one thing that I know a way for an entrepreneur to grow quickly is through acquisition. And so, just like you were saying, let's just say there's entrepreneurs who I know sort of pre-COVID who were interested in doing a second location, for example, a restaurant. For them to be able to acquire another restaurant that's already built out and sometime inherit the employees, that's a win-win as a business going forward. So those are some thoughts I have. I'm not sure if people are moving in that direction yet. I know we always, when we're coaching and talking to entrepreneurs, we talk about ways for them to be able to grow. When they're talking about second locations, we're like, well, is there a space or a commercial property that is already pretty much built out and the use is similar to what your restaurant, then why not consider, since you have to make a significant investment or take out debt, why not consider the acquisition of a commercial space? So those are some conversations I know that we engage in with entrepreneurs, and it's certainly something that I'm hopeful our community will start talking to entrepreneurs about acquisition. That's a real quick way to be able to grow and scale for the type of businesses that we're talking about.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I mean, one of the things I'm hearing with some of the entrepreneurs is wanting to take some of the restaurants and make it more like as an example, a reunion family restaurant. So people could have reunions there versus having it open to public. It's just open for booking. So every couple of hours, you could have a family there, then desanitize it, then the next family could come in and they could use the kitchen and cook and have a family reunion or group together or a bigger group together without having to worry about all the COVID challenge that could be facing a restaurant, or for family to get together in a home. Then there might be a little bit nervous where it's more commercial use and it's following certain protocols to make sure that no one's going to get sick and things of that nature.
And then to that point, though, too, there are people who are buying smaller spaces. When you talk about getting together for the holidays, Thanksgiving, my family on my mother's side, they're pretty nice size around the family, but rented a hall over on Hamilton called the Hamilton. Very nice, small spot, had a kitchen to it. We masked up and just really had a good time. And so people aren't always going for the bigger spaces now, which is good. I think most entrepreneurs always felt that they had to buy these big buildings in order to get going and moving. And we're finding that with our past traditions and history, everything wasn't so big and huge, that you can actually start small with 1,000 square feet, sometimes 350 square feet of a retail space and get moving. You don't have to always make a long-term commitment. Like I said, we have the pilot where people can pop up, and sometimes that's the best convenient way, between their e-commerce or even home based businesses to come out every now and again and sell or lease a space for a short term.
Yeah, I think Detroit especially, I'd love to see more somewhere between those 350 to 500 square feet retail space more available. Because when you go to any major city, in the country here in the US, or I've been fortunate to see it all over the world, that a lot of retail spaces somewhere that between 350 to 500 square feet. And they've been there for hundreds of years. And the reason why is because their overhead is pretty low. So, there's certain things that you could do to make it work really well. Sure, sometimes it's nice to have a bigger space for people to roam around. But with the way we're going right now, it seems like a smaller space might be more suitable. If you're talking to any builders, Regina, please make sure that you infuse the idea of 350 to 500 square feet, or even 150 to 350 square or 500, somewhere like between 150 to 500 would be amazing spots for many entrepreneurs to launch, grow, and potentially test their ideas. And of course, you could always have more space later.
That's true. And to your point, there have been, Greg Donnelly with Proxy, he reached out to some of us who had small, pilot spaces for people to pop up. He's working with a client who specifically asks, what are entrepreneurs looking for as it pertains to retail space? And I did mention, these smaller space sizes. We have the one that's 350, square feet, and there's so much. If you, go in, you will see that there's so much space there to do a variety of things. So no, definitely, there are several ways that entrepreneurs are doing things different. To your point, they are, using their restaurants now for sort of hall space and gatherings. Just being creative, to your point, is important.
Yeah. One of the restaurants I interviewed actually on the podcast, he had taken his seating area and converted to be more of a pickup. So no more seated. It's just, and he was able to leverage the net to get more orders. And he's actually grown the business, but yet no more seatings. It's all either pickup or delivery. And the whole restaurant is now pickup or delivery, the whole entire physical space as well. He needed it because there were more people needed to come through and pick up, or having more delivery pickup to be dropped off at people's homes. Fascinating times. It seems like more opportunities in a way to deliver and be creative on how to support the communities that you live in. Because I've always believed entrepreneurs are the people who are finding ways to be useful for someone else, and providing a service or a product or whatever you want to call it, technology or solution to a problem that someone is willing to pay for, right? But not necessarily money. It could be an exchange of thank yous, exchange of services, but someone is willing to, to buy it. That's what it comes down to. Also, business is a different thing, because now if you're talking about business, sure, there's a transaction that needs to happen to make that entrepreneurship journey becomes more real or more sustainable. But the entrepreneurs that probably you and I, Regina, and many people on the call face are not starting because they want to get rich and famous. They're starting because they see that they need to do something. Sometimes they have no choice but to start a business, but sometimes they see there is a need in the community or an opportunity in the community to provide a service or a product. And that's really why they're doing it. Cool. We could keep you here for all day. Clearly, I have, I want to make sure that, anyone else would like to ask questions, please either in the chat, ask, or just unmute and speak. We removed all the good, so just feel free to do that. I wanted to go while people are thinking through that. I always talk about, and this from an academic perspective, money management and market, right? So the M&Ms or MMM, whatever you want to call it. I'm curious to see, what have you seen with the entrepreneurs that you're working with? Any changes in any of these three areas? Did the market, the market we already know has shifted, right? But did the management style change? Did the money need change? Did anything else, it sounds like from what you're offering with the GoDaddy and the new loans, it seems like there is a more tendency to get more of those things today than before, I'm assuming, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
So the need for M&M and money for entrepreneurs, it's always been there. What hasn't been there is the various types of capital to meet the entrepreneurs we serve. And in particular, in my experiences, community-based businesses. And so you might recall in Detroit when at Tech Town, we launched what was called a Brightmore Loan Fund to begin to sort of test out opportunities, including matching grants to retail bootcamp grads, so on and so forth. So when I went to Memphis, Epicenter Memphis, I primarily focused on, I was the chief program officer bringing resources in, but I also was tasked with community-based capital. So doing a variety of things from sort of adopt a business, doing grants, low interest loans, really filling the early stage capital pipeline for those justified and early stage community-based businesses. So coming back, again, coming to a marketplace that, yes, people will say all day, and I hear this fears, oh, there's capital out here. There is, but not for most entrepreneurs that aren't community-based. And until you fill that gap, we don't have what we need in the marketplace. And I work with entrepreneurs who are considered those micro businesses, one who are less than 10 employees. We talk about, data says $250,000 annual revenue, but in the Detroit market, they have less than $35,000 annual revenue. Where's the capital? And so when I get them the best entrepreneurial education Build Institute has, the best subject matter experts, and capital was still a problem, we have to solve for that. And so aspects of the way we're doing that, again, is, low interest loans, KIVA is a 0% interest loan, and then grants. So again, filling that early stage capital piece, because entrepreneurs need it when they've done all they can do. And capital is the only, to solve and spell relief, we've got to do it. And then I'm also going to say the one thing in conversations I've been having since, I've been back in Detroit for a year now with funders and entrepreneurs in the community is to say that we always say we want accessible capital, but yet policy and underwriting and certain criteria is so rigid that it eliminates other entrepreneurs. And so what I've been saying is, which there are some organizations that have character-based lending, right? If we know, for example, that there are businesses of color or Black businesses that do not necessarily have financial statements on hand, but we can see a way to understand their cash flow and ability to be able to repay, how about we develop unique financial tools for that specific type of entrepreneurs, for us to continue to build solutions that are the same for a specific set of group. We can talk about PPP and all of those, right? It was entrepreneurs are not able to access it. So innovation now requires us to build different type of financial tools that entrepreneurs can plug and play in based on cash flow, credit can't always be the determining factor on who gets money and how they get money. When we know history has shown that, certain businesses have issues with credit and don't have financial statements. So why are we continuing to punish them? But yet and still we say we want to have an inclusive access to capital. And so the one thing about Build, I always say as a team, we like to work outside the box instead of being in the box to help provide resources to the entrepreneurs. We got 2,068 graduates from Build programs since 2012. And there still isn't enough capital in the market, early stage, to help them be able to grow, period. So money is always an issue. You need money to grow. Money can be a good thing. And I think too, the second part of that is the education piece. And I know you and I care about that. The more entrepreneurs are coming out confidently toward capital because they're starting to trust those of us in the marketplace that say, hey, capital is a good thing. This is when you need capital. And there is access to some capital. So it's twofold. It's the capital being available, filling those gaps, and then educating people and building trust around it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's really, from my perspective, Regina, and I'm sure you agree, teaching them how to do things and all that is nice, but if there's no, at the end of the day, cash to support what they need to do, or cash flow, really the cash flow is really the challenge, is then you got a challenge in the whole, why are you then teaching them all this cool stuff that they can't use?
Mhm.
And I think the underserved minority and underrepresented communities, whether it's African American women or any other group, is really face that a lot, because we'll show you how to do it. Okay, great. Well, you showed me, then all right. Well, I need $5,000 based on what we talked about. Who's going to give me that? Oh, well, no one will give you that, but you could know how to do it now.
Right, right. They don't have family and friends to be able to go to, and those are the type of funds that were started in Memphis as well, to help those under-resourced, underrepresented businesses to get going.
Yeah.
Um,
And I agree, the PPP loan, I think when I was looking through the numbers, it's less than 12% of all businesses in the country received it. So it's wonderful. And I'm one of the companies that received it, and I'm very fortunate. And I thank the SBA for doing
and we
that.
did as well, and I'm grateful for that too. So
And the reality is not everyone could have gotten it. I've worked with few in the city that they couldn't even come up with a bank statement for the 12 months. They were struggling to get that because they don't have access to the internet, and it was being mailed to them, and they didn't have good records. So it's all kinds of things that are really fascinating to see. Well, Regina, I don't want to keep you all day because we can, and there's just so much to discuss. If you were to leave today with a nugget for entrepreneurs who are listening to this, entrepreneurs or ecosystem support service organization that listening to this, what would you leave them with, this one nugget to be? And it could be maybe two nuggets. What would that be?
well, one, you have to ask for help. Pride and shame will not take your business forward. Um, Go to someone in the ecosystem that you can trust, take that risk. Business is risk, and ask for help. I've got to say that a lot of people aren't asking for what they need. And then two, talk to customers. I believe that if you have an idea or your business already in early stage, talk to folks and figure out how you either enhance your product or your service to get back out there in the marketplace, but don't give up.
Regina, thanks a million. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate your time, appreciate your insights. Always good to see you. And
Good to
have a
see you.
great day. Have a happy holidays as well.
Have a great day and happy holidays. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for joining us today. This is Start of Grind Detroit. Have a good day.